Oh, the wrong camera is selected. It's okay. This camera is better anyway. The quality is better. I wish I had taken the picture with the other camera. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, that's much better. Well, I got crumbs on my shirt already. Man, what in the world is going on with me? Hmm. Okay. I'm no longer a Santa Claus, everybody. I am just wannabe Santa Claus. I use my electric razor to cut off my entire beard just today. So, right up leading up to Christmas, I kind of grew my beard out, and because of the white color of the effects of the medicine, it made me look very much like Santa. If you saw me in any of my pictures that I posted, you'll see that I looked very much like Santa. But anyway, mm, I found a pizza that is riddled with vegetables. It has about 8 different vegetables on it. It actually has more vegetables on it than I can get in the local supermarket. The local supermarket vegetables, and by the way, there are several supermarkets in Onomichi, but close to where I live, there's only one supermarket, and it's just so. It's not very expensive, but the problem is it's a small supermarket. It's one of those small discount supermarkets, and so it doesn't have a large amount of stuff, and it often runs out of things. So even staple items like certain vegetables, fruits, and even milk. There have been times when I've gone there and they were completely out of milk. There are other times when I've gone there and they were out of bananas. It's silly the things that they're out of. Sometimes there's no cabbage. How can a supermarket be out of cabbage? How can a supermarket be out of cabbage? And oh, that's pretty cool. I was just yeah, cabbage, milk, and bananas is crazy. I was just looking at some of the features of this live stream, and it has some different options. Pretty interesting. Okay. Anyway, it has a. Let me see something. Okay. It seems that the microphone it's using is this microphone right here in my ear, so that's good. But the levels on the screen are showing very low. I hope that it's loud enough. Normally, I don't record using this the YouTube live setup. Usually, I use third-party software. Man, these shadows make me look really tired or old or something. Maybe I should get like one of those ring lights right here, make me look beautiful. But anyway, I decided, to have something a little special for my New Year's dinner. Today is the 2nd, actually, January 2nd, 2025. 2020, yeah, it's way in the future. 2025. So it's not the 1st, it's the 2nd. And I decided to have this today. There are a couple of reasons why. Mm. 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 That's the 4th time I've bitten my lip in the past 2 days in the same exact spot. One of these days, I really need to get my teeth straightened. Mm. I never had braces, and so I have to be careful and think about what I'm doing when I'm chewing. If I don't, occasionally I will bite my lips, so I have to be very careful. But there's so many vegetables on this pizza that they're practically falling off. It's difficult to hold. I just wanted to tell everyone, first of all, of course, Happy New Year. I really want to wish you all an absolutely wonderful 2025. I have a few things that I want to share. And I kind of have to think about how I want to share and what exactly I want to share. For some of you, maybe this is not for you. Maybe it'll go right over your head. But I have often thought about various things regarding life. And one of the things that I have focused on is, purpose. Why are we here? What are we doing here? And that sort of thing. And I don't mean, why am I here in Japan? Why did I buy an old house? Why am I studying Japanese here in Onamichi? Those are not the things that I'm talking about. I'm talking about basically, if we most people think of themselves as human, like we look at ourselves, we look at our reflection, we look at our body, and we think, I am human. Maybe some of you will say, of course we're human. But to me, I think of it in a different way. Okay. Think of it this way. A race car is going around a racetrack. Okay. It doesn't matter how complicated the racetrack is. Maybe in the beginning, the racetrack is kind of simple, but over time, it gets more and more complicated. But the truth is, there are many race cars on the racetrack. And the race cars are driving around the track. And from the time the race cars are made, they just race on the racetrack, right? They just race on the racetrack. And the race cars, they only know this racetrack, and they're always racing with other race cars. So they know about other race cars, they know about the racetrack. But the race cars start thinking, hey, I am the race car. That's what they think. So the race cars think that they are the race car, right? They think that they are the ones controlling through the turns, accelerating and slowing down and things like that, sometimes getting into accidents, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is that true? Is it really true that the car is alive and is driving itself around the racetrack? Is the car the one who built the racetrack? Obviously not. There is a driver behind the wheel, but the car is not aware of that. The driver, the person, is controlling the car. The person and other people built the racetrack. They built the car. They built everything that the car is and everything that the car knows. They built it all. And then they stepped into the car. Each car has a driver. The driver steps in and drives around the track. So the driver has an experience, a pretty amazing experience. I've never been behind the wheel of a race car. I've only played some racing games. But I would have to imagine it's a pretty amazing experience. The smell, the sound, the sights, the feel. It must be pretty amazing. Maybe after a driver is behind the wheel for a really long time, he starts to think that he's the car, you see. Ever since he can remember, he's just always been driving around this racetrack. So he starts to think that he's the car. Is he the car? Obviously not, but he thinks he is. And all the other drivers think that they're the car. But the driver is not the car. The racetrack, the car, and the driver are different things. I keep having some people come in and leave. It's no problem. I'm telling you this story for a reason, truly. Let's take the analogy of the race car, the racetrack, the race car driver. Let's compare it to ourselves, okay? The world, life as we know it, the human body, and the spirit. So a lot of people consider themselves, their bodies, who they are. So my mind, my emotions, my body, this is me. This is myself, my life, whatever you want to call it. And they look around and they say, this is the life, this is everything, and I am here and I'm experiencing life. But actually, this body, this experience is no different than the race car. So by thinking that this body and this experience is me, it's no different than the driver thinking I'm the race car. And I'm not the race car. I'm the power behind the car. I'm the one who built the car. I'm the one who drives the car. So I built the car and I built the track so that I could experience the track and challenge myself so that one day, hey, I can remember I'm not the car, and I can make anything happen out here that I want to happen. So that's the way I view life right now. A few weeks ago, I had to go into the Onomichi hospital. And actually, looking back at it now, the main reason I went there is because, well, number one, I didn't really know how to handle the situation very well. And I was scared and didn't know what to do. Essentially, I just had so many clots coming out of my system that I was not able to use the toilet. And of course, that can be disturbing, even though I have experience already with having to use catheters and that sort of thing. I'll spare you the details. It was substantially harder. This is so good. The spices on here and the vegetables together, so good. But basically, I guess I didn't want to deal with it. And the combination of being scared of the situation and not wanting to have to deal with it myself just led me to go to the hospital. And I wound up having to stay there for almost exactly a week. But it gave me some time to think. And since then, some other things have happened here and there. And I got to really thinking deeply about several areas of my life, because I realized that while I have a few key important friends and I have a few good things in my life, even though I haven't been able to be on this YouTube channel and build it and do the kind of content and the things that I want, not just for myself, but for you guys. But primarily, I think it's for me, because if I'm doing this website and I'm doing things for my channel, really the priority should be, is it making me happy? Am I doing things that are making me happy? Is it good for me? And I shouldn't be trying to just get more subscribers or more supporters or even making friends. That's not the goal. Even though those things are great, whenever I make any YouTube video for any YouTube channel or do anything like that, the goal shouldn't be to, oh, I want more success, I want more subscribers, or I want more views or likes or whatever. The goal should be, I love to do this. It's what I like to do. And it's a way that I like to express myself. And I just want to share that. If 10 people see it and love it over a period of a year, or if millions of people see it and love it, both are okay, as long as what I'm doing is making me happy. So obviously I was, oh, Happy New Year, Glenn. Thank you so much, man. It's really good to see you. I had a feeling that you might stop in. I was hoping you would, and I really suspected that you would, so I appreciate it. I'm having some vegetable pizza and just chatting a little bit, a little New Year's chat. I was editing a video for Koji and I wanted to take a break and have a little vegetable pizza to celebrate the new year. And post a video and just say a few things, including Happy New Year. But basically, where I'm at now is I got to a point where I started thinking about all these different aspects of my life that I felt were, I wouldn't say out of control. I would just say not only very far away from where I desire them to be, but actually worse in many areas than they've ever been. So with relationships or finances or health, especially career, everything, just literally every main area of my life, not what I really want it to be. Either just at best so-so, at worst scary to most people. Glenn says, I am at my cousin's place in the country. Awesome. Tell your cousin I said hello, or your cousins if there are more than one. Mm. I can't remember the time I actually had a real pizza, but I'm so glad that I found this one. It was affordable, the quality is good, and it is just packed with deliciously abundant and well seasoned vegetables. It's so awesome. And this is my first time having this pizza. It's a Royal Pizza Hat. If you guys have heard of that, it's a Japanese delivery company. Pizza Royal Hat. I'm sorry. And I had a coupon. I was able to get it. So this is my New Year's treat, but it's so packed full of vegetables. Just awesome. Mm. Okay. So, why did I tell you all that? All those things that I was talking about. I was considering my life. Once again, I was asking myself some questions for actually quite a while now. I would say for maybe a few years. I have accepted the belief that I am creating my circumstances. The way I feel and believe about my life, myself, everything outside of me, my finances, my career, my love life, my friends, my health, whatever, career, everything from the inside out is created. However, the one key thing that I didn't make a strong transition into was actually being able to take the next big step of actively creating changes. And recently, I've learned some things that I think are very important, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I kind of debated about this. Yeah, I know there's a lot of bread on here. But because there's so many vegetables, I'm not worried about it. And that's the other thing. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. But I'm not even worried. Excuse me. I'm not even worried about the carbohydrates right now. And here, I'll tell you why. In this life, we always think about past, present, and future. We think about time as a linear progression. We have things that we went through in the past. They happened. They're finished and over. Right? Can't be changed. Hmm? And then there's the present, which is always moving, but it's always now. So whatever we're experiencing right now is the present. And then everything later on, somewhere out in the distance, future. But there are a couple of things that some religious, spiritual teachings and scientific like quantum theory have in common, and that is the idea that all realities exist simultaneously. So every possibility exists at the same time. And that means that whatever you're experiencing right now, no matter how good or how bad, it means that simultaneously all other versions of that exist. So the worst case scenario exists at the same time, simultaneously, as your wonderful moments, and vice versa. So there can be some times where, for example, you have to go to the hospital because you have a problem and it looks bad and you're worried and scared. So you go to the hospital and then you have to spend time there and it looks bad and you're scared and whatever, and it seems horrible and there's nobody around to support you, et cetera, et cetera. Takes you away from work, takes money away. It can cause many problems, right? It looks bad. But at that same exact time, there's an alternate reality. There are an infinite number of alternate realities existing at the same time that could take the place of that. And this is difficult to get your mind around. But if you think about it this way, that what we're seeing right now and what we're experiencing right now is a product of the past, what we call the past. So what we believed in our previous experiences, it's it's a carryover. So everything that we're witnessing and experiencing right now, all of our relationships, our daily interactions, our life, our lives, our health. Excuse me. I had to sneeze. I saved you by hitting the mute button. But anyway, um, yes, back on. Okay. Essentially, what we're seeing right now is not really present. The people that are coming to see us right now, the events that are happening right now, and the way we feel right now, and our health right now, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything right now is actually not really now. It's a product of the past. So our beliefs and assumptions and feelings, and our imagination and our feelings together, basically creating our present. So from the past, our feelings and beliefs and assumptions creating what we're experiencing right now. And then everything later, tomorrow, in the future, is being created right now. And you might ask, how is that possible? Well, um, essentially, it's like this: you and I and everybody and everything, we're all connected to the same source, we're connected to the same creator. And so whenever we have in our imagination and in our feeling these assumptions that are persisted in, beliefs about who we are, what we have, what we can have, what we deserve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then we are directly connected to what you could call the superconscious. You could call it God or the universe or whatever, but it is the I am, you could even say, that is everything. And then that power enacts, and you could say weaponizes everybody to make those things happen. It is truly a collective consciousness. We are all experiencing as individuals, but we are a collective conscience experiencing individually, and our individual beliefs are brought about by the collective. Does that make sense? To me, this is kind of a simplified way of explaining this quantum theory. I haven't actually studied deeply anything about the quantum theory, or any of those. I'm not really into mathematics, but I learned it enough to understand the core concepts. And funny enough, while I was studying it, it's funny how everything kind of rolls. Everything just like it's like a snowball going downhill. It starts off very small, and by the time it gets down to the bottom, it's so huge it can take out an entire town. Um, but I was just thinking about these things from a spiritual point of view, and it all started because I I was essentially at the end of my rope about my life, about my health, and about my finances and everything. There were so many questions and issues, and I knew that somehow I'm creating it, but I didn't know how to look at it, what to think about it, and how to remedy it or change it. And I started listening a lot to an old, I guess you could call him a spiritualist, philosopher, deep thinker named Neville Goddard. Maybe you've heard of him. I'm always reading books, but the good thing is that he has many books and lectures that you can go and listen to or read. And I've been listening to those a lot. I've been meditating. I've been trying to, I, not just trying. I haven't been trying. I have been purposefully and deliberately applying some old things that I've used in other areas of my life. Even when I was a kid, I have been applying these same types of daily, ongoing, all day disciplines to change how I view situations and moments. And even in the littlest things, it's very, very important, especially for somebody like me who has allowed so many things to get out of control in my life. It's very, very important, even more so for me right now than ever, that in every area of my life, I control how I feel and think about it. And I don't just mean like positive thoughts. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real, true belief and casting off negative emotions. It's impossible to not be tempted with negative emotions or to even have a negative emotion. That's human nature. But as a higher being, as we truly are on the inside, we can recognize that immediately and cast it out. So it's, I know this is going to be a really silly analogy, but it reminds me of a moment in Kickboxer. If you've ever seen the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it's called Kickboxer, where he goes to this kumite in Hong Kong, and all these guys fight. Okay, it's such a silly analogy, but it just makes sense to me. It's the last fight, and Van Damme is fighting this guy called Chong Li, who's played by Bolo Young. Bolo Young was he was amazing in the film, but he's a great villain. He makes a great villain. He's a wonderful guy. He's really big and buff, but he's the bad guy, and he's losing to Van Damme. So he takes this powder from his shorts and he throws it in Van Damme's eyes, so Van Damme can't see, and he's going to have to fight basically blind. His eyes are very blurry, and so Chong Li tries some other dirty tactics to try to trick Van Damme. And one of those is he pushes the referee into Van Damme, into Frank Dukes, but Van Damme, to try to trick him to think that it's him. But there are a couple of things here. Chong Li isn't wearing a shirt. He's just got his big muscles on display. He's not wearing any shirt. The referee has on a type of like, it's kind of like a robe or a kimono, sort of. And whenever the referee is pushed into Van Damme, he can't see him, right? So he grabs him, and he has his fist back. He's about to hit him, but then he just pushes him to the side. So as soon as he comes in, he thinks it's Chong Li at first, and he grabs him, and he's about to punch him, but he can't see, and then he just pushes him to the side because he realizes. So this guy comes in, the referee comes in just like a bad emotion. Suddenly, out of nowhere, something happens, and you're about to react, but then you realize, wait a second, this is not a threat. And then you just push it to the side. You see? That's the analogy that I have in my mind for how we're supposed to handle everything that's going on around us. And I'm talking about supposedly negative things. Circumstances, people, health issues, doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. So when I mentioned earlier about how, I've had some issues where I have to go to the toilet, stuff comes out that's very dissatisfactory in pretty much 99.99% of everyone's perceptions. I can't imagine why anybody would say, well, that's cool or that's wonderful. But it would be super easy. And actually, most people would agree that if you were to respond negatively or in a scared way or a worried way, they would say it's perfectly natural. Yes, of course, you're responding in a perfectly reasonable way. I don't agree. I don't agree with that anymore. I think that by responding to even extreme situations is a way to continue to perpetually create a bad life, bad health, a bad future. And there's so much I want to say about this topic, because it's like this dot connects to this dot and this dot connects to that dot and so on. It's like a huge web. And the more I think about it, the more ideas I get and the more things that are connected. But the truth is that past patterns of negative thinking, a negative response to circumstances and people and events or whatever in our lives, even if it's our health, no matter how extreme they are, our past negative responses, anger and fear and confusion and feelings of helplessness or whatever, those things, we are experiencing the fruits of that right now. Those seeds that we planted back then, we're experiencing that right now. So when you look around, and some of you might think, well, I haven't had any problem with my career. I haven't had any problem with my job. I loved my job. I've worked for many years or whatever. I was even raised by a good family. I had this, I had that. But, for some reason, I just have never been able to get a good relationship or find a husband or a wife or whatever. I've had success in every area except for that one area. So you might have one main area that you're not satisfied with. But actually, by looking at that right now in a negative way and allowing the emotions to come in, it's just like the referee coming in and when you grab him, but instead of realizing this is not a fight you should be participating in, instead you're pulling him in and just wailing on him and not realizing this is not your enemy. And guess what? That's going to cause more consequences in the future. Can you imagine what would have happened? I know it's just a movie, but can you imagine if the hero of the movie is in that final fight and he grabs the referee and he's so scared thinking that it's the bad guy, he just starts beating the crap out of him and knocks him out. He would wind up being disqualified and lose the match, and the bad guy would win because that's the final match. So the consequences after that act would be severe. It's exactly the same in life. It's exactly the same. So it's very important, even in the little things. That's the thing. Even in the little things, all right? For example, here's my coffee pour over. It has some used coffee grounds in it because I made some coffee a little while ago. I had some coffee grounds sitting in a bowl, and I was a little lazy because I set it down next to me on the floor earlier. And before I had a chance to pick it up and go take it to the kitchen, I forgot about it. And guess what? I kicked it with my foot and I knocked the coffee grounds over on the carpet. So I had to spend some time sweeping it up, and getting it out of the carpet. And something like that, some people can get very angry. And little stuff like that used to really irk me, even those little things, because it was like, oh my God, I, I was going to take that. And you think maybe you just barely touched it with your foot. You just happen to hit it at the right spot and just barely hit it, and it knocks the whole thing over and it creates a huge mess. And then you have to spend like 5 or 6 minutes cleaning it up. And maybe you're busy. It happens at the most inconvenient time, right? And all of these things annoy you. But that's no different than grabbing the referee and punching him. Maybe you don't beat the crap out of him, but it's a little thing. Even if you grab the ref and you punch him one time and then you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Well, it's too late. You've already given in a little bit to that bad mojo. So what I'd like to say is you're not going to be able to avoid situations like that where there's a circumstance or something where it tests your emotions. but you can recognize it. Okay. You can always recognize it. We have complete control over our emotions. I don't care what anybody says. Excuse me. I've had a couple of friends tell me, well, it's human nature. People are always going to make mistakes. So, if a person, a person can't control their emotions, well, you shouldn't say I'm always going to make mistakes. If you say that, you're creating your reality. You're creating a life where you're always going to make mistakes. So what you should say is, I actually have the power to recognize when something is amiss, and then I can choose how to respond to that situation. If you put this in your mind all the time, then whenever something happens that is, let's say, not preferable, all right, something that appears not preferable, whether it's a little thing or a big thing, it should be a red flag that instantly tells you you have the opportunity to respond the right way and take the high road. Whether it's a bunch of bad things or a big bad thing or a little thing or whatever happening, doesn't matter. Same red flag that goes up and says opportunity. Opportunity to change the way you think about yourself and about reality. And it is so imperative that we do this. It is so imperative. And I really believe the reason I'm sharing this with you today is because I really want to share it. I don't know if it's going to help you or not, but I can absolutely tell you that's where I'm at in my life right now. When it comes to everything in my life, I don't have the answers for how to get to where I want to be. But that's not any of my business. My business is to focus on the end result and think about it and feel it and believe it as if already true. To live my life right now and feel and control my mind and my emotions to the point that that reality is already true for me. It's already true. And by living in the end result, then the steps and the doors are made to get me there. Because trying to figure out how to get there, right? Because right now I can honestly say I'm finishing school in less than, or maybe in about 2.5 months. So in the middle of March, I finish schooling, and from there, I really don't know how to go where and what to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to go. Um, uh, I don't know exactly. That's the thing with finances, work, my health, and all of these things. I don't have the answers for how to resolve those things. But what I have done recently, I would say ever since I got out of the hospital from Onomichi Hospital, from that time until now, I have worked my butt off to get focused on the inside and to no longer concern myself with how bad things may appear on the outside, because I know that it's just a reflection, a shadow, a result of what I was like in the past. And I'm not that guy anymore. Um, you can't control what happens. Glenn says you can't control what happens, but you have all the power to control over how you react. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Now, I do believe that um, there's a balance. What happens around us is a combination of a couple of things. One of those is what we believe about ourselves and reality is coming to pass in our lives. But like I said, and it's similar to what you said here, there are some things that happen sometimes that are not apparently desirable, things that we don't necessarily want, but they happen in this life, in this reality, they happen. And like Glenn says, we have complete control over how we respond and how we feel. Sometimes we might respond in a good way, like if somebody does something and maybe it's a big mistake and they apologize for it profusely, and we say, it's okay, don't worry about it. But in our heart, in our mind, we're thinking that they're very stupid or whatever. That's very bad, because the way we feel about the situation is the most important thing. And if you say to the person, listen, it's not a big deal. Really, it's not a big deal. It's okay. And in your heart and in your feelings, it really is okay. It really doesn't matter. It's just a mistake, and it doesn't matter. If you really feel that, you really believe that, and you speak that, great. You have complete control to do that. And by doing that, you're changing your life for the better in the future. It will be better and better and better. This is why habits are so important. Habitual feelings and habitual thinking will keep you in whatever state you're in. And I'm not going to state Bible verses because I'm a Christian or pushing a religion, but there are some very, very interesting verses from a spiritual point of view that talk about this concept of to the person or him who has, in other words, the guy who has things, riches, health, love, etc., success, more will be given. So the guy who already has things, more will be given. And to him who hath not, him who doesn't have, even the things that he does have will be taken away from him. It's crazy, but if you think about it, if you look at my life, I'm thinking, wow, now that I think about it, that was exactly me. Because all of these areas of my life that were lacking just seemed to be getting worse and worse and worse. And what was left to take away? Not much. Oh, health. Yes. And so health starts to be taken away. So even the things that I did have, even those things had started to be taken away. Whose fault? My fault. Has nothing to do with my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my daughter. Has nothing to do with anybody, even my ex-wife. So I got onto this concept of revisiting the past, past experiences, and revising them. Okay. And this, when he was talking about this, there was a lecture I was listening to where he talked about revising the past and how important it is for your present. Okay. You might think, and some of you might even do what I've been doing recently, which is trying very hard and doing actually the work of looking at my situation differently and feeling about it differently. So when I go to the toilet and I have issues and I have to use some assistance to get things out, I know that this is the tumor exiting my body. It's being expelled from my body because it no longer has any place in my life or in my body. It's being expelled. And that's why I'm having these consistent, I guess you could say, expulsions. That's the way I'm looking at it. It's consistently happening. And I think for the majority of people, they would be very upset and worried about this. But I've completely changed the way I handle it, the way I look at it, the way I feel about it. And now I'm at peace to handle it. So that's one thing. But I realized something that's even more important, I think, which is going back and revising the past. So think about this. If everything that you're thinking about and doing and believing right now is going to predict your future, what can change your present? Revising the past. Revising the past. And maybe for some of you, this sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, I've just recently in science research and in religious research and spiritual research, I see a big crossover here where the quantum theory and the spiritualist teachings and all of that actually come together and are saying the same thing. You've heard about the scientists where they look at matter and they realize that matter acts differently when it's being observed. I'm sure that some of you have already heard those reports. essentially, when we put our intention, our focus and intention on matter, it responds. It becomes weaponized. There's a Japanese scientist, I think his name was Emoto. He passed away several years ago, but he did a lot of research with water. And what he would do is he would take different types of water and expose it to different types of music or words, and he would freeze the water and take a picture through a microscope of the crystals, the ice crystals, and the shapes that they would form. And if he played beautiful words and loving words like love and forgiveness, beauty, peace, happiness, then the ice crystals that were formed were symmetrical and beautiful. If he played beautiful music, it would be the same result. If he played distorted, uh, rough, strong music, or if he said bad words, if they said bad words and then looked at the icicles, they would be distorted and malformed. They've also discovered that by using these methods of sound, they can actually clean water. They can take polluted water and clean it. Think about how amazing this is. This power that exists to actually actively focus on and intentionally change matter. So I told you all this because I want you to see the connection between that, the science, and the spiritual. The quantum, I guess you could say, the quantum theory basically is that all realities exist simultaneously, and that a shift can happen at any time to alter the present. And that's why they believe there's no time. There's really no time. It's just a constant shifting of what we perceive in our human body as time. Because in this reality, that's the way we perceive it. We experience it as time. But actually, everything that's happening right now, we can choose from an infinite number of possibilities. And the only limit is really our imagination plus how much we really, really believe it. There's a verse in the Bible where Jesus says, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, be gone, and it would get up and leave or whatever. And that's very tiny faith. So can you imagine what you could do if your faith were huge, right? I really do believe this. But when you talk about revising the past, as a writer and somebody who likes to make stories, this really, really connected with me. Where you go back and you think about something that happened in the past and you retell the story. And you really try to experience it and retell it in a way that is preferable, a nice way. And I did this last night with a moment that was very important in my life, that was very difficult. And that was when I sat down, or my wife sat down with me, and she basically talked about her plan for us to separate, and she was going to go take our daughter and live with her dad, and we would go to counseling and all these other things and try to work things out. And then later on, she'd move back in. But she ultimately wound up filing for divorce and taking my daughter and things like that. But here's the thing. I decided to take these moments and sit down and reimagine it in my mind, where I actually had a good discussion with my wife, and it was an honest and open discussion. And what I realized through that discussion, not only did it make me feel good while I was thinking about it, it made me appreciate her more. It made me actually feel more love for her. And it made me feel like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because in the imagination, I was able to admit some things that were from her perspective that were true. And I was also able to express some things about myself that I was not willing or not able to see and admit at the time. And looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I get it. Because in that moment, I reimagined her sitting down with me and saying, listen, you are a very talented and creative guy. And I knew that before we were married. And that's actually the reason why I was attracted to you. However, I allowed my fear about being alone and not having support and getting kicked out of my mom and dad's place. I allowed those things to essentially push me into getting into a relationship with you, even though I knew in my heart that we would have issues, and I apologize for that. I was wrong for doing that, and I also think that I'm holding you back because the dreams that you had and the things that you wanted to do, I've held you back from that, and this situation has held you back from that, and I don't want that for you. And I believe that moving forward in the future, I know for a fact that where you want to go and where I want to go are different directions. And I love you and I care about you. And I think that that's why we should, you know, make a plan for growing apart to go separate directions. And and then in the imagined scenario, I was able to say back to her, I appreciate you saying that because actually I didn't even want to get married in the beginning. And the reason I didn't want to get married is because um, I knew in my heart that we weren't a good match. And there were several reasons. But once again, just like you, I was scared. I didn't want to be alone. I allowed my upbringing from my parents to tear me down and cause me to feel very scared to be by myself. And uh, I could see very early before we were even dating that we just weren't good for anything more than friends. But I ignored all of that and I just went all in on getting married and I forced it. So both of us forced this. And you're right. So now we have a daughter, and it's very important that we figure out a way to continue to have a great, loving relationship between the three of us, not just between her and you and me and her, but the three of us. I still love you. I love her. And I want her to know that and feel that. And she said, I agree. I absolutely agree. And in my mind, we hugged and we had some tears, but we were very happy because we were relieved. We were able to be honest and share the way we felt about the situation. And even talking about it right now makes me feel so good. That's revising the past. And it just really helped me release so many negative emotions that I've held against my ex-wife ever since 2000. I don't know. Our divorce was in 2007, but I've had negative feelings even before that. So for a really, really long time, 24 years, maybe, a lot of that stuff was just released last night. And I realized that this is really powerful to actually take these moments that keep coming back into your mind. You have to revise them. You have to. And the reason you have to is because by having these bad memories continue to live in your head rent free, as they say, it's continuing to create and make things worse, even for you in the present and then in the future. And that's where the power, I think, really lies, is revising the past, because then you see immediate results right now. Right now. These are the immediate results. And I really felt like I needed to share that with you guys. I just felt really strongly that I wanted to share that. And Mom's cooking at Christmas. Christmas? I can say 100% I miss my mom's cooking at Christmas. It seems kind of silly to have this discussion, this serious discussion, and then eat French fries. Discussion we had last week. Ah, okay. I see. Oh, man. Pizza got a little cold, but it's okay. Still good. I'm very excited, guys. Glenn and anyone else who's listening later. I'm very excited about continuing to do these revisions of the past. with various people. Um, I've had some friends who quote ghosted me. I've had I've had some other relationships. One of the biggest ones is my daughter, but the one of the bigger past, I guess you could say, some of the biggest past uh, negative memories that I've held on to are from my childhood. And my plan is to go back and revise all of them. I want to look back. My desire now is to look back on my childhood and see nothing but happiness, nothing but love, nothing but joy. And the interesting thing is that some of the teachings of Neville Goddard, he says that people will say, "Oh man, you're living in denial. You're just denying the past. It's just denial." But actually it's not. It's active revision. Because here's the thing, your the 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 creative force or the superconscious or whatever you want to call it, it's completely neutral. 100% neutral. And so whatever you believe and whatever you feel, that is what it's going to weaponize. And that's the most important thing I think I can tell you, is that when you take your imagination and your strong feeling and conviction about it, this is true. This is true for me. And you send that anger up or that bitterness up, like so many of us do, or that fear, you send that up. It's going to weaponize it. And that's going to become your life. And then that becomes a habit, and it compounds and it continues. But when you realize, wait a second, I can purposefully change this, not just right now, but the past. I can literally change the way I think and feel about my health in the past, my life in the past, my childhood in the past, every freaking moment in the past that continues to bother you or bother me. We can sit down, we can lie down, close our eyes, be still, bring that to mind and recreate it and really engage and feel that moment the way that we want it to be. And by feeling that and using our imagination together and sending that up, that neutral creative force weaponizes it to change everything right now. Isn't that a big thing? And the reason I think that this is the truth about life is because it's a direct correlation to what science says. It's a pretty amazing thing, but it is also very empowering to realize, wait a second, I'm not a ship at sea without a steering wheel that's just being tossed around. Because this is the way most people live their lives, whether they realize it or not. If you don't use your imagination and your feelings purposefully, then you are a ship being tossed around at sea with no steering wheel. But by realizing that you have the power, we have the power, we have the control over our emotions, how we think about something, how we feel about something, how we think and feel about the past, how we think and feel about right now, and everything that's going to happen later. By having that knowledge and taking control and choosing differently, we change our present and our future. I really believe that. Absolutely. So, whenever something does come up, and of course they do, like Glenn said, you know, can't control what happens. Some things come up and they immediately have an appearance of, I don't like that at all. I don't like that. It's no different than grabbing the robe or the kimono of the referee and realizing, wait a second, this is not a battle that I have to fight, and push it away. Acknowledge it. Yes, this exists, but it's not for me. And then push it away. And that will change the future. But we can also do that about things that have happened in the past. So, yeah. Anyway, there we are. That's my New Year's talk. It's interesting because for many, many days I've wanted to discuss this with somebody, and one of the things that Neville Goddard talks about, and some other spiritualists who have the same type of mindset, same type of belief, they say that you have to keep these things to yourself. As soon as you start to tell others about it, you get a lot of resistance, and they start to say things and be negative and this or that. So it's kind of like the idea of praying in the closet, right? Go into the closet and pray. Be quiet. Don't tell other people what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So as it relates to what I'm literally doing right now, I mean, obviously I still have school, and I'm editing a video for Koji. These are some practical things. But as far as, what I'm planning to do with my life, or wanting to do ultimately with my life, my end goals and things like that, I keep those to myself. And the reason is because your plans and your dreams that you have inside are for you. And by keeping those to yourself, I think that you're doing yourself and the world a service. And letting go of the how, I don't know how I'm going to get to certain places or get to the end results that I dream about, or the ones that I see in my mind. Some of them, yeah, I wouldn't even share these things until they actually happen and you can see them. You can actually see them. I wouldn't share them with you. I wouldn't share them with anybody. And the reason is because I know that dreams like this are highly personalized, and my dream might be really, really strange, or unbelievable, or seem silly and impossible to some people. And so I would just be inviting negativity to share those things. It's better to just keep them to myself, and I recommend the same for all of you. Obviously, if someone says, well, my dream is to move to Japan and get a house in Japan, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of resistance, but you will still get some people who say a lot of bad things. There are people who always come out of the woodwork. Even today, I haven't been making videos, but there are occasionally some people who still post on my videos or on my channel with negative comments. And so if you're going to put yourself out there, you expose yourself to some of those. And like I said before, you just have to recognize them as, yes, that exists, but it's not for me, and it doesn't represent who I am. And then you just let it go. But you don't want to put out your pearls before swine, so to speak, as the saying goes. So keep your good stuff to yourself. I guess that's pretty much it. Glenn, what's going on besides, or what's going on with your cousins? Any specific plans? It looks like I've got Glenn and one lurker in the chat. Just eating on camera. It's very interesting, isn't it? Cousin that owns this place is in Europe. Another cousin in house sitting. Aha. Gotcha. Okay. Is it like a trip in Europe, or are they working over there or something? Yummy. Going home tomorrow. So dropped in to say hi. Gotcha. Bit the inside of my lip again. Cousin's son lives in. Ah, okay, I see. The problem about biting my lip is that after the first time, it swells up, and then it becomes very easy to bite it repeatedly. I've now bitten it 5 times in the past couple of days. Luckily, just a moment ago, it wasn't very hard, but sometimes I really crunch down on it. One piece of pizza left. One pizza. So I think about all the possibilities. Mm. Now I'm almost biting the other side of my mouth. Eating and talking. 8 weeks until I land in Japan. Yeah, man. You're actually gonna get here around the same time I finish school. Isn't that crazy? I'm gonna finish about mid-March, and there. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but if you go to a university and study Japanese or whatever, and then you graduate, you can get a visa for up to 6 months. It's called like a job search visa. It's very cool, right? But if you go to a language school like I am, you can't apply for that visa. So that means that that's not an option. My visa is good to the first week of May. So I finish in March, and I basically have about a month and a half after that to file for something else. But your arrival, Glenn, is around that time that I'll be finished with school. So really looking forward to you being here. I know it's been a while, not just for us to meet, but for you to be here. I know you've been looking forward to it. A lot has happened since then for both of us, actually. So that's going to be great to see you get back over here. And I'm actually open right now to anything happening. I will see you and party on your birthday. I really hope so. I'm thinking about. I think it's a weekday, right? Didn't I say it was on a weekday? Let's see. March. Yeah, it's right in the middle of the week, just like Christmas. I love it in America when Christmas is on a weekday because it's like extra days off. But when my birthday is on a weekday, it's very annoying because usually I'm working or going to school, right? So it's like, what? I can't do anything very great. But I know that I will still be in school on the 5th. If all goes well, maybe it doesn't matter so much if I take the day off. We'll see. We'll see. I would really like to be able to do something and get out of Onamichi for a while. I can wait till the weekend. Yeah, well, let's see here. Actually, the middle of the month is, around the 15th is on a Saturday. I don't know the exact day yet when school finishes, but they told me it was in the middle of the month. It could be anywhere between the 15th and the 20th. But I do know that during the last week of school, it would probably be pretty difficult for me to do much of anything. And the main reason is because of final exams. So I would have a lot of studying and testing to do during the final week. But I'll try to find out when that is, and we'll discuss it, and I'll let you know. But yeah, if there's something the weekend before, like the 1st and the 2nd, or the 8th and the 9th, it would probably be fine. My guess is that it would be okay. But I don't know how much of Onamichi you've seen or you know about, but I believe that it would be nice if I could get out of here for a little while. I don't really go too many places. This Saturday, I'm going to go to Fukuyama with a friend, and but the thing is, it's very easy to go there. And I found out that there's an entertainment complex. They have like a cinema and a bowling alley, an onsen, and gaming center. And from the station to their center, the entertainment center, It's a free bus going back and forth. So we can go over there for free and hang out for a while and come back. So I'm going to go do that Saturday. A rare trip out of town for me, other than going to the hospital. I can work around that. I do need to get to Okinawa at some point. Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, I will definitely let you know of what my schedule is going to be like and when I expect to finish. I'm sure that the teacher should know if it's more like around the 15th or going to be around the 21st, 22nd or something like that. Because it seems to me that it tends to be around the 22nd or so that they actually finish. But I don't know. I'll see. However, after that point, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Right as of right now, I don't know what I'm going to be doing or where I'm going to go. And I'm not trying to figure that out. There are a couple of reasons why, but the main reason is because I realized that in the past, when I tried to rack my brain and try to figure out something to do, I was never right. I was never able to figure out the right thing. So trying to figure out the right thing is solving things myself. And like I said earlier, for some of you, maybe you'll think, well, of course you had to figure it out for yourself. You need to do something. You need to find a job. You need to be getting online. You need to be looking for all these websites and doing this and doing that and talking to people. Blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. You don't understand. My whole life has been like that and has done nothing but cause me stress and grief. And I am 100% going all in on there is a higher power. Our higher power, my higher power, absolutely knows what's best for me. And I'm going to completely put this issue in that power's hands and wait for the opportunity to open. When the right doors are opened, and the correct steps they manifest themselves, then I'll be more than happy to take those steps and go through those doors. So that's my job. My job is to respond when the right opportunities arise. My job is not to try to figure out and create those things. I'm doing everything that I can right now because I have online teaching classes to do. So I do those. That is an opportunity that has been given to me. So I do that. I have school. So I go to classes. I've been given a way to manage my health situation and take medicine. So I do that. There are a couple of other things that I won't mention here that Glenn knows about that have also come up as opportunities that I wasn't expecting. And those opportunities, when I heard them, just sounded right. So I'm going to do that. So I really do believe that the most important things in my life that have happened are, and I don't mean, and I mean the really good, amazing, or surprising things. These things came about in a way that wasn't because of my strong, I guess you could say, strong work and trying to figure things out and work really hard to make it happen or whatever. Competition is a short-lived thing. You know, you work very hard and you fight really hard for something, and you might get it or you might get a portion of it, but you're going to lose it tomorrow. Somebody else is going to take it, or you're going to have to keep fighting to keep it, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. My health has been the same thing in the past. My career, my relationships, money, everything has been like that. And I'm done with that. I'm done with that now. I feel much more peaceful. I feel happier. And actually, since then, I've even been able to start to change some things on the outside. I've been able to organize my life a little better, get some things kind of straightened up around here. Even something as simple as putting up these shoji doors, or rather these fusuma doors. Putting these doors up here and closing off this little room, moving my bed in here, getting the table cleared off and moved out of the room and things like that. I've been wanting to do that for a very long time, but I just haven't done it. And it was very beneficial for me to move my bed in here and to close off these doors. It's much easier to keep the room warm. It's more cozy. It's quieter. It doesn't bother my neighbor. There are many reasons why it needed to be done, and I wanted to do it, but I just didn't. And now it's done. And why? Why is it done? Because I changed how I feel and think about my situation. And now I'm much more comfortable. You know, I teach when I can teach, and I do what I can do. What I'm given, I work with. And when I'm not given, I just relax and I work on myself on the inside. There's nothing else for me to do. So that's all. I guess that's all for today. I thought this would be a short video, but then again, I probably always do that. I think it's always going to be a short video. But if you notice, if you go back to the beginning, I don't think that I said this is just a short video to tell you blah, blah, blah. I don't think I said that this time because I knew that it might go over. And it did. It went way over. For those of you who listened to most all of this, like Glenn, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I really do. I really do appreciate you. You have no idea. Some of you have been able to look past the appearances of who I'm not and see who I really am on the inside and see my heart. And because of that, that makes you a very special friend to me. And some people have come into my life and as friends, but then just couldn't see, I guess, past the negative things about me in my life that I hadn't yet gotten past, and they just kindly stepped out. And of course, during those times, I blamed them. I thought that there was something wrong with them. But once again, I believe that those situations happened as a result of what was going on inside of me. Their response to me was a representation of things that were going on inside of me. So I will say that there have been many times in my life where I have not been an easy person to be friends with. And it's not because I'm a bad person. I've never been a bad person. Just maybe frustrating at times. I have been in the past. And I am outspoken, but I have a really big heart and a soft heart. And some of you have been able to see that and look past the nonsense that I've done or said in the past. And for those of you who have and stuck around and have remained as my friends over the years, you'll always be respected by me and appreciated by me. So thank you very much. And once again, one more time, I will say thank you. Thank you, Glenn, for being here. Happy New Year. And have a safe trip tomorrow or wherever you're headed back. If you're headed back home, I think you said. Yeah, you're going home tomorrow. So be safe and have a good trip. And other than that, I guess that's pretty much it. You and I do need to connect because I want to chat with you about some things, but there was no pressing need for me to do that. And I wanted to give you some space for the holidays. And found in Japan. Hey, man. Thank you for stopping in. Happy New Year to you too. I saw one of your short posts earlier, and I can't remember if I had a chance to comment, but I did like it. So I'm glad to see you around. Thanks for stopping by. I'm just about to sign out. So thank you all for being here. And let's make 2025 the best year ever so that 2026 and beyond will be even better. Because I really do believe that if this is the best year, the next year can be at least as good and more than likely even better. So let's keep getting better day by day, moment by moment. Let's keep getting better. And Glenn says, take care. We will chat again soon. Yes, we will. And you take care. Love you guys and gals so much. And I'll see you next time. Okay. For now, that's it. John